Hi, and thanks for logging on to the Daily DVAR Halacha. And here's a brand new halacha for you, and it's for Wednesday, the 20th day of April, the 19th day of Nisan. Today, of course, I want to speak to you, not of course, but very apropos to start speaking to you about what's going to happen on this coming Yom Tov. When we have Yom Tov, we're going to have it outside of Israel on Friday, the seventh day of Pesach, and also on Shabbos, the eighth day of Pesach. And of course, on that day of Yom Tov, there's going to be a lot of talk about Kriyas Yamsuf and how the sea was split and the Jews ran through it, and the Mitzrim, the Egyptians, were trapped there and drowned and were never able to chase the Jews again. That happened on the seventh day of Pesach. And we're going to read that, of course, the Az Yashir, the song that the Jews sang, as soon as that great miracle happened. Okay, but I have something interesting for you to note on this matter, and it is that this Kriyas Yamsuf having happened on the seventh day of Pesach, which we know it did, the Medrash tells us that, but it's not mentioned anywhere in Chumash. The date of when this happened is not told to us in Chumash. And when God describes the celebration of the seventh day of Pesach, he just says you should eat matzos for 7 days, and the seventh day will be a day of Yom Tov, and that's it. So the date of Kriyas Yom Tov is not listed, and the reason for the seventh day being a Yom Tov is not listed as being Kriyas Yam Suf. Isn't that interesting? This is the great event that happened on the seventh day of Pesach, and yet the Torah is kind of quiet about it. Of course, it tells us what happened, but it doesn't mention that that's why we're celebrating the seventh day of Pesach. So I've been doing a lot of reading on that matter, and I see that some rabbis say that we don't want to tout that and say we are only celebrating the seventh day of Pesach because the Egyptians drowned. That's not exactly how we set up this Yontif. This Yontif was told to us before the Egyptians drowned, and we were told that there was going to be 7 days of eating matzah, and that on the seventh day we would celebrate by having a Yom Tov. So it seems like we're not doing exactly that. I was reading a shir from Rabbi Menachem Liebtag, and he says this interesting thing. He says, you note, of course, that God tells us that in the month of Aviv, in the month of spring, you should always arrange the calendar such that the holiday of Pesach comes out in the month of spring. What's the month of spring? It's when we have new beginnings, right? We go out and make a bracha on the trees. We see new things blossoming. Everything grows anew. And Hashem says, I want this to be the holiday that happens in the Chodesh Aviv in the time of spring. And when you have new beginnings, that's when I want you to have Pesach. And then he notes this interesting thing here and says that no, we don't announce that we're celebrating the seventh day of Pesach because the Mitzrim drowned on that day. We don't announce our holidays exactly in that way. We want our holiday to be the holiday of the new beginnings. And he notes that there happens to have been a new beginning for us on the seventh day of Pesach, and that could be a reason for God wanting there to be a Yom Tov. And for that, I'm going to read to you a special pasuk. It's in Perek Yud Daled, pasuk Yud Gimel, and I have it right here. I'm going to read it to you. Vayomer Moshe el ha'am. Moshe said to the Jewish people, Al tiru, don't be afraid. Hisyatzvu ura'u es Yeshuas Hashem. Stand and see the help of Hashem. Asher yasa lachem hayom, that He will do for you today. Ki kasher re'isem es Mitzrayim hayom, the way you see Mitzrayim today, lo sosifu lirosam od ad olam. You will never see them this way ever again. You see what's happening here? We're not so much announcing that, hey, the Egyptians are going to be destroyed, but rather the Jewish people are told that they're going to have a new beginning. You used to see the Mitzrim, the Egyptians, as those who lorded over you and kept you in servitude. And Hashem says, Moshe says to the Jewish people, in the name of Hashem, you will never see them this way ever again. Now you will see a new beginning, and you will see that you are capable of great things, and that you are slaves not to people like the Egyptians, but to God in heaven. That new beginning happened for us on the seventh day of Pesach. And that's a reason to celebrate. It's all under the rubric, if I could use that word, of the Pesach being the holiday of the new beginnings. And that new beginning, not so much the destruction of the Egyptians, it's not listed in the Torah as that's why we celebrate, but it's the 7 days that happen in the Aviv, in the spring, when we begin anew again. That had another like facet of the beginning, was when we didn't see ourselves anymore as servants to Egypt, but as servants to God. I hope that all made sense. I hope it didn't sound too preachy. Thanks for logging on, and log on again tomorrow for more. Bye-bye.